Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Here's your host, Phil Kornblue.
Really appreciated my time here, and hopefully you'll hear from me soon. And, maybe you'll have to come back on here in the near future. Thanks so much.
Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day. Professor, it's why I love this business. I can remember many, many moons ago having a conversation with the late, great Herman Helms. And he told me, he says, the one thing I like about the newspaper business, the sports business, of course, the newspapers were a bigger deal back then, is no day is the same. Every day is a little bit different. Well, we woke up this morning bright and early. Those of us that do morning talk shows, I get rolling out of bed about 4 o'clock in the morning, and got the news through some sources that Chad Holbrook was pretty livid and had withdrawn from any consideration for the baseball position at College of Charleston. He had actually been offered the job and had accepted it. That from his an old friend, Matt Roberts, I believe it is, the athletic director at College of Charleston. They were finalizing details, getting everything worked out, and not money or anything like that, but some of the ancillary, is that the right word? Yeah, okay, whatever.
Well,
anyway,
whatever.
The stuff around it.
Ancillary, that's it.
Give me a fist bump. Give me a fist bump. All right. Anyway, that word that I obviously did not know. Embarrassing myself by reaching for it. But anyway, they were working on that, and all of a sudden the school president, Glenn McConnell, just pulled the rug out from underneath everything. And all of a sudden it looked like
he vetoed the deal. He thought he was back in the State House.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. He might have had his Confederate uniform on and just came running in there with a saber and said, no, we're not going to do that. But now the Charleston Post-Courier, who has been woefully behind on this story the whole time, but now they are reporting that Coach Holbrook evidently is back in the running, back in the mix, so to speak.
Okay, now go back now. Wasn't there some alumni or former players pushing for the old pitching coach, Foxhall at
Scott Foxhall, who's
at NC State?
NC State. And what happened here was kind of interesting because some of the alumni who were pushing Scott Foxhall got in touch with former players and basically asked them, would you support Coach Foxhall? Yeah, I'd support him. Well, can we put your name to? Oh, sure. But then I don't know if you saw the letter, but the letter was pretty close to libelous against Chad Holbrook. And once the letter was sent to the school president and the AD, and once the letter was made public, then some of these players said, whoa, I don't want my name attached to that. So they started having some, they wanted their name pulled off of that. I mean, I don't know if you saw the letter, but it has some accusations in there that completely unfounded. And so it's gotten kind of interesting down at the College of Charleston. And of course, they're facing a lawsuit from Matt Heath,
right?
The former coach who was let go for allegedly abusing players, and he has filed a wrongful termination suit. Now, if you're the AD, I certainly hope you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's, because you certainly had to anticipate that a lawsuit was coming. But that's the situation right now. Now, Chad Holbrook was juggling a couple of balls in the air here because Tim Corbin had offered him a top assistant position at Vanderbilt, where he would be the recruiting coordinator and also is a top assistant coach. And quite frankly, Tim had been very patient waiting for Coach Holbrook to make a decision here with the College of Charleston. And evidently this decision, my understanding is Chad was told that done deal, tell your family, get ready to move to Charleston, et cetera, et cetera. But then it fell through. The school down there not looking real good.
Not looking real good. But somebody that look real good, you have a guest coming on later on with that other B-ball, basketball, and Alex English coming on.
How do you know I was through talking about baseball?
No, well, you haven't. We just telling
we got to get the real sport out.
We're just telling everybody what else.
Yeah, we got an old friend
on the docket.
We got a couple of big names.
Yeah,
our
well,
producer,
we're a couple of big names, Teddy.
Well, I am. But anyway, our producer Jared Rogers has he's reeled in Alshon Jeffrey.
Oh, okay.
So you know how talkative Alshon is. So Alshon will get conversation with him a little bit.
Who's now a Philadelphia
later.
Eagle? He turned from a bear to an eagle.
Well, bad as the Bears are, that's probably good. But who you're referring to is an old schoolmate of mine, Alex English, who is a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is.
The Naismith Hall of Fame. And he will join us about 6:30. He's got a basketball skills camp coming up here in the Columbia area. And, Alex, he made plenty of money. And Alex is one of those guys that squeezes a nickel so hard that the Indian sits on the buffalo. So he's doesn't need the money. So he's trying to give back to the community here with this skills camp. And so look forward to talking to him about that. And you can talk to him about the NBA if you'd like, or any other basketball. Matter of fact, since you brought up basketball, CBS Sports, which I think does a very good job with their website, cbssports.com is one of the websites I check every day.
I had to get used to the new format, but it is a good website. Yeah.
They have come out with their 2017 basketball rankings. And Gamecock fans, let's just put it this way. They're not going to be very happy with these rankings.
Well, but here's the thing, Teddy. Frank Martin is the type of guy, he doesn't build a team for preseason rankings. In fact, he will find guys who can deal with his coaching style and play a rough and tough style that everybody doesn't like. So the key point is the guy's a winner. And because he's not ranked, he loves that. See where they got us, guys?
Hey, Professor, didn't they go to the Final Four last year?
Yes, he did.
They did go to the Final Four
they
for
did.
the first time in school history.
Yes.
And you're not old enough to remember some pretty dang good basketball teams here with guys like Roach and Owens, names like that.
Riker.
Yeah, Tom Riker.
Crimmins.
Bobby Crimmins. Yep. So those teams didn't go to the Final Four. Now, of course, it was a different day and age and things were done differently.
Yeah, only 4 people got in the tournament back then.
32.
I think 32 was the most, but when they started, it was 24. And then they added 8 more. And then
I'm not sure what year they added.
Yeah.
I think when Roach and Owens were here, it was 32. But anyway, you go from the Final Four to CBS's SEC rankings, 10th. In the SEC, 10th.
No,
behind Auburn, behind Georgia, behind Missouri.
That's a joke.
I don't get that one now. Don't really get that.
That's a joke.
And the comment is that the Gamecocks will have a long shot for an NCAA bid.
From the 10th position, eh? Well, I think.
I found that interesting. Of course, Kentucky won, Florida 2, then Texas A&M 3, Arkansas, Alabama at 5, and then Vanderbilt. And you keep up with basketball more than I do, but Arkansas, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Georgia, Auburn, and South Carolina at 10.
Now, Alabama's going to be tough. I like their team. I've always liked their coach. And he seems to be a guy, one of those rare individuals that translates what he did in the NBA to coaching a college team. It's rare to see a guy able to do that. But if Nick Saban hadn't been there, he'd own the athletic department.
So basically what we have is a bunch of stuff here.
Yes.
And we do have room for you. 800-956-7266 won't get you to join us as well on Sports Talk. I'm Teddy Hefner, by the way. Tom Hayes with us as well. All right, if you're just joining us, where have you been? Interesting morning. Chad Holbrook this morning withdrew his name from any consideration for the baseball opening at College of Charleston. He'd been offered the job and had accepted the job. And then when they were trying to work out some details, the school president, Glenn McConnell, said, oh, not so fast. Kind of pulled the rug from underneath the AD and from Holbrook. But now the Charleston Post-Courier is reporting that Coach Holbrook might be back in the mix. This is, I think it's a good situation for Chad from a number of reasons. First of all, he gets to stay in the state retirement system.
Yes.
and that's always a good situation.
Mm-hmm.
Charleston's always a nice place
Mm-hmm.
to live. And you know that in the back of his mind, he's going to say, let me recruit against those Gamecocks. You know, he's going to want to
Mm-hmm.
do that and maybe meet them on the field somewhere. Some other baseball notes before we get to some football. Cubs beat the Braves 8-2. Boy, the Cubs starting to play well with this second straight.
They brought out the brooms.
Yep, they
the
won.
ATL.
Yep, and they've won 6 in a row. Mike Montgomery allowed 2 hits and 1 run over 6 innings. He also hit a home run to help Chicago win its 6th straight. Javier Baez hit a 3-run home run. Twins beat the Yankees 6-1. Jordan Montgomery, former Gamecock, suffered the loss, his 5th in 11 decisions. Montgomery was touched up for 6 runs in the 2nd inning. Now, he recovered to complete 6 innings, but you give up 6 in one rack, you're usually in trouble. Damage was done there. The Davey O'Brien watch list is out. We've got the all ACC preseason team from the ACC kickoff, the media's team. We'll get to that, but some news from the NFL. San Diego's first-round pick, wide receiver Mike Williams of Clemson and Lake Marion High School. He is likely to start training camp on the physically unable to perform list. He has a herniated disc in his lower back and was actually looking at surgery a couple of weeks ago, but more recent reports are now saying that the surgery is, excuse the pun, off the table. So reports now are saying that Williams is improving, but he is looking at starting the season on the physically unable to perform list.
So what is it? They're just going to have treatment, try to do it without the surgery?
I guess so.
That'll be interesting to see. Getting back to Chad Holbrook, Teddy, I think
you bounce around more than Rick Sanford.
Oh, yeah. The toughest thing about College of Charleston right now is not so much the coach, it's the transition they're in. When they were in the Southern Conference, you recruit those players, a lot of them know each other, you know the landscape. Now that they're with CAA and they're going up and down the East Coast, it's almost like the program has to reset itself in what kind of recruiting it's going to do and sort of thing. And I think Chad is the best guy to be able to pull that off if he gets the support. I'm not so certain if I go back in there and I'm still in the mix. Now, look, let's have a prayer meeting. Do I have the backing of you guys, or if I'm going to have to just push off people as we go along? I can't work under those conditions.
Evidently, Brett Gardner, the outfielder with the Yankees, had made a telephone call on behalf of Scott Foxhall, and that carried a lot of weight with Glenn McConnell. I would guess that Garner probably writes a number of checks for the baseball program down there. But I know they had that letter, and I know there are a lot of former College of Charleston players who are very vocal in their support of Scott Foxhall. But if they hire Chad Holbrook, I mean, it's not like they're going to start pulling against College of Charleston.
You would hope not.
Well, no, I would definitely hope not. But that's going to be an interesting situation down there. The Southern Conference, where they were, I thought was a better baseball league than the Colonial.
Yes.
I mean, don't you think so?
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yes.
But you make a great point. They're having a little bit of trouble adjusting to the Colonial. You're seeing people you've never seen before. You're making trips that you've never made before.
Trips.
Yeah. So that makes a difference. All right, what do you want to do first? You want to do the all ACC or
let's do the ACC. Let's do the Clemson Invitational.
The Clemson. It might be the Florida State Invitational. Offensively, this is just they just named the one team. As far as I know, they just named the one team. That's all they've got. Wide receiver Deion Kane from Clemson, Amon Richards from Miami, Cam Phillips from Virginia Tech, tight end Cam Saran from Wake Forest. Any mispronunciations are totally unintentional. All-purpose Jalen Samuels from NC State. Offensive tackle Mitch Hyatt, Clemson. Brian O'Neill, Pittsburgh. Offensive guard, Tyrone Crowder, Clemson. Wyatt Teller, Virginia Tech. Center, Alec Eberle, Florida State. Quarterback, Lamar Jackson, Louisville. Running back, Mark Walton, Miami. Dedrick Mills from Georgia Tech. So 3 Clemson players on the offensive list, but heck, only 1 Florida State player.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mitch Hyatt, one of those rare individuals, looked like he was born to play offensive tackle. I mean, he came on campus, and people don't realize, especially in a developmental position like that, when a guy walks on campus as a true freshman and just takes over at a tackle, you have to just figure this guy was just carved out to be an offensive tackle.
One of the early mock drafts for next year had him going in the he and Christian Wilkins going in the first round. The defensive end Harold Landry from Boston College, Bradley Chubb from NC State. Defensive tackles Dexter Lawrence from Clemson, Christian Wilkins from Clemson. Linebackers Micah Kaiser from Virginia, Shaquille Quarterman from Miami, Tremaine Edmonds from Virginia Tech. Cornerback Travaris McFadden from Florida State, Jair Alexander from Louisville. Safety Derwin James from Florida State, Quinn Blanding from Virginia. Special teams place kicker Michael Badgley from Miami. Punter A.J. Cole from North Carolina State. And SP, specialist, whatever, Quadre Henderson from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ted, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bradley Chubb, I think that's Nick Chubb's brother.
That's his brother.
Yeah,
Yes.
Nick Chubb's. Oh, how does a family have a defensive end and an All-American running back?
Wonder if Georgia recruited
because they played back and forth Oklahoma in the backyard every day.
Wonder if Georgia recruited him.
Well, they probably wish they had.
The Davey O'Brien Award watch list is out as well. How many more? Is this about the last one, you think?
No,
they didn't do the quarterbacks.
They're going to invent some more before it's all over.
Jake Bentley from South Carolina is on the Davey O'Brien Award watch list, along with a bunch of other people. Austin Allen from Arkansas, Josh Allen from Wyoming, J.T. Barrett from Ohio State, Jake Browning from Washington, Sam Darnell from Southern Cal, Eric Dungy from Syracuse. Come on, Eric Dungy. They just lost all credibility. Jacob Eason from Georgia, Nick Fitzgerald from Mississippi State, DeAndre Francois from Florida State, Jalen Hurts from Alabama, Lamar Jackson from Louisville, Daniel Jones from Duke, Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma, Shea Patterson from Ole Miss, Josh Rosen from UCLA, Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State via Rock Hill, who Steve Spurrier didn't think could play at South Carolina. And that's about most of the names that we would recognize.
Also, Mason Rudolph plays in the Big 12. All quarterbacks do well in the Big 12. It's funny because we talked about that. Everybody wants to complain about Clemson with the pick play to win the national championship. I said, well, they don't call that play in the Big 12.
But they did it so well. It was not a pick play. It was a rub. You know what difference between a pick play and a rub? The rub doesn't get called. All right, we'll be back. Alex English will join us. All right, Teddy Hefner, the professor, Tom Hayes, back with you, waiting on Alex Ings, member of the Basketball Hall of Fame, going to join us for a few minutes. Going to talk about basketball skills camp he's got coming up. I think he's going to ask me to demonstrate the two-hand set shot. I'm not sure exactly which session he wants me to come and work out with that.
That'd be the old timers.
Who was the guy who was so good at hanging? Luke Casey or something like that?
Yeah,
Remember
right,
him? Was so good. Wasn't he the first guy to score 50 points in a college basketball game?
I couldn't tell you. I wasn't back.
Oh, come on. Wasn't that long ago. The 30s.
No, it was a funny story. My dad was in high school back in the 30s, and he said that he was in there and he threw a behind-the-back pass because he thought that was the only way to get it to the guy.
They probably benched him.
And the coach said, "Get out, get out."
Him.
He said, "What? Get out? You mean go to the bed? No, get out of the gym."
All right, we are now joined by one of my all-time favorites, old schoolmate Alex Ings, former Gamecock, former Milwaukee Buck, former Denver Nugget, and a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame. Alex, how you doing tonight?
Played with the Pacers too.
Pacers, yeah.
I'm doing great. You got Teddy Hefner there with you as well.
No, that's me. Yeah, me and Tom Hayes.
It's Teddy. Hey, Teddy.
I was just telling Tom that I wasn't really sure which session of your skills camp you wanted me to come by and demonstrate the two-hand set shot. Wasn't sure exactly which day.
I think we want that for the closing ceremony.
All right, good enough. Yeah. I can make it now. I can make that two-hand set shot.
Well, I believe you, man. I know you were a football player, but you were a basketball player at heart.
Yeah, I tell you, Alex had he was so smooth, but he'd shoot that jump shot, and he had those long arms, and he'd let that thing go at the top of his jump. Did you ever get a shot blocked? A jump shot?
Teddy, you know who taught me that shot? You remember Mr. Whittinghill?
Oh, yeah, Arlie Whittinghill.
Mr. Whittinghill shot me. He taught me that shot because my junior year, we lost to Clyde Mays and his team from up in Greenville, and he blocked my shot so many times. When the next year I came back, Mr. Whittinghill came into the gym and said, "You know what? You need to get that shot up a little higher," and that's what changed my whole shot. I started working on releasing it at the top of my jump shot.
Well, as you probably know, Mr. Witt was a basketball coach before he got into administration and got.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was a principal.
That's something new to me right there.
Yep. But he used to, when they would have the alumni games, he would shoot free throws with his back to the basket, and he'd hold up a mirror, and with his back to the basket, he'd shoot free throws, and he'd make them. Yeah, he'd make them. Those were.
I did not know he was a basketball player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
basketball coach.
Yeah, so that's where you learned that, huh? Yeah, I can remember. When Frank McGuire, I was working had already gone to work at the newspaper. It was my first couple of years at the paper, and I was at a USC practice. I guess it was your senior year at Dreher, and I mentioned that I knew you and that I'd gone to Dreher, and when Frank heard that, he came over and said, "I says, now any help you can give us? Any help you can give us with this young man? We really need him. Any help you can give us?"
Well, hey. Frank had he didn't understand that I was going to come there to play for him. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. There wasn't anybody else I wanted to play for.
Yeah. I was saying earlier with Tom that, it's not like you need the money from this skills camp. Matter of fact, you're giving out a bunch of scholarships. So this is kind of your way of giving back to the community. It's a boys and girls ages 7 to 18 at Carter Newman school here in Columbia. Now we're statewide, but you welcome some folks from other parts of the state. To come in.
Yeah, we want people from everywhere That's the beauty of the game. Anybody can play it. They can come from anywhere they want. So we accept people from everywhere, and we're at Cardinal Newman High School next week, 8 to 4 every day, and we're going to be teaching basketball skills.
And
so if you've got a kid that's trying to learn how to play, and wants to learn the technical skills of the game, then we are the ones to do that for them.
You're not going to bench somebody if they throw behind the back pass, are you?
No, we're just going to scold them and tell them that this is the right way to do it, and teach them how to do it.
Well, tell me this.
I've done I've gone out and I've gotten different companies to donate scholarship money to the kids, so that we can get kids that can't normally afford to go to summer camp. We've got them coming, and we've got scholarships that we're giving away. I've got Adidas and Bethel Construction, Companion Life, even my old friend Judge Casey Manning. They all donated money to send kids to this basketball camp. So,
well, Casey's got plenty of it.
About it.
Well, tell us.
Yeah, he's got plenty of money.
Well, tell us a typical day. How is the instructions structured each day for the camp?
Well, what we do is we start in the morning. We do stretching, a little workout, a little warm up drills, and then we do. I've got JoJo English who teaches a lot of the basic technical stuff like slides, defensive slides, that kind of stuff, and then we break into stations, and we have 5 stations that we will go through during the morning. Just working on the technical skills of the game. And I've got different coaches guys that came to my camp years ago when George Glimp was running it. And now they become coaches as well. James Abrams, Junior Lowry, JoJo English, they've all become coaches, and they're making sure that the kids are learning how to play the game the right way. So I'm happy about the coaching staff I have, and very excited. I've got Judge Manning coming out to speak to the kids. T.R. Dunn, who's a former teammate of mine who coached with the Rockets, the Timberwolves, the Kings, he's coming out to speak as well. So we're looking to have a great time. And like I said, we've got sponsors that have donated the money, and we're excited.
Alex, you were telling me that one of the reasons you want to do the camp is that you have seen an erosion of basic basketball fundamentals.
Yeah, and you think about it. Now kids, they have all these different AAU teams, and coaches are just looking to get guys on their squads to help them become good teams, play the game without teaching them the basic skills. And that's what we want to do. When I had my camps years ago, that's what we did. We taught the basic skills, and we had some great players, a lot of university players, former players that come through there, through the camps, and guys that went to different places. So they enjoyed what we did, and we're looking to impart that kind of regimen to the guys, to the players that come this next week.
Well, Alex, the basics never change. And when you get a super talented player that has the fundamentals down, then you got a dynamite ball player. But tell me this, the way the game is played now, how in the world are guys like, Nowitzki and the guy at Golden State, 7-footers shooting from way outside? I mean, do you have bigger guys coming to you now want to learn? They wanted to learn the back to the basket moves years ago. Now they want to learn to shoot the 25-footer.
Alex, you got about 20 seconds to answer that.
Well, that's going to be hard. Yeah, I mean, the game has changed. The look of the game has changed. You've got big guys that are not considered centers anymore. They've pushed the game out to the three-point line. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we're trying to teach. We're trying to teach the game most of the game is played within that three-point line. Yeah. And that beyond the three-point line is
Alex, got to cut you loose. Thank you, big guy. We'll mention the camp when we come back. All right, it would not be Sports Talk without the world famous, award-winning recruiting report. We go behind the bulletproof glass to the young, the impressionable Jared Rogers.
How impressionable it will be. But we've got wide receiver Tyquan Johnson out of Sylvania, Georgia. He grabbed a USC offer early in June, and it looks like he's going to grab
Sylvania light bulbs in Sylvania, Georgia.
No, just Sylvania.
Okay.
Not Transylvania. Don't confuse it for the vampires in Romania out there. It's just Sylvania. I think that's southwest of Atlanta. But Johnson, the wide receiver, Tyquan Johnson, plans to attend Saturday's Spurs Up cookout in Columbia with his parents and younger sister. And he's got other offers, including Mississippi State, East Carolina, Syracuse. Last season for the Screven County Gamecocks, Johnson caught 32 passes for 822 yards and 13 touchdowns. Wide receiver Josh Van of Tucker, Georgia, will visit USC Friday and Saturday. Van said a decision is not imminent and probably won't be made until a couple of weeks into his season. He visited Georgia last week and said he goes back and forth between the two. It's 50-50. Offensive lineman Dylan Wonham of Tucker, Georgia, said he will not make it to USC this weekend for the camp or the cookout, and he's got no plans to go anywhere this weekend. USC offered 2019 Jason Watkins of Nashville, Florida, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Arkansas are some of his other offers. Then basketball will fill out the rest of the recruiting report. We've got Clemson's coaching staff has been active, and they're dishing out offers after scouting prospects last week at major AAU tournaments in South Carolina and Georgia. One of their scouts went to 6'6" Nate Hilton of Gastonia, North Carolina. The Tigers joined Pitt, Miami, Oklahoma State, Maryland, Auburn, Arkansas, VCU, Penn State, and Indiana. Hinton's excited for the offer from Clemson. Clemson's been on and off with me for a couple years now, and finally, with hard work, they moved the offer forward, said Hinton. One of the newest assistant coaches, Dean Reynolds, recruited him while he was at Rhode Island, and now that he's at Clemson, they've continued that relationship. Living in ACC country, Hinton is able to keep his eye on teams around the league, so he's very familiar with Brownell and the Tigers. He just wants to join the ACC. At this point, Hinton said no favorites have emerged for him, though. Right now, I'm just taking it all in and focusing on having the best July that Nate Hinton can have. Ooh, he's a third-person talker. That's always fun. Coaches are liking my leadership in the way I approach the game, Hinton said. My handle has gotten a lot better. As well as my shot last season, he averaged 19 points per game. USC offered 6'7" Jericho Helms of St. Louis. He's also picked up offers from Georgia Tech, NC State, Florida State, Boston College, Pitt, and Florida. And lastly, we've got 6'7" Landers Nolly, the second of Fairburn, Georgia. He was offered by Clemson. He has offers from St. Louis, Wichita State, Alabama, Penn State, and Arkansas. And that, gentlemen, is the recruiting report. And I did make an error earlier. I said it's southwest Atlanta. Sylvania, I have spent many times in Sylvania. That's in Screven, just on the other side of the Savannah River from South Carolina. I went on a gator hunt in Screven County.
A gator hunt.
A gator.
I went gator hunting.
Sure you weren't on a snipe hunt?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm very sure it was a gator because after I shot and missed, the guy I was with, this is in the middle of the night, mind you.
You shot a defenseless gator?
I shot a defenseless gator. Well, I shot at a defensive gator. My aim is not so great, having grown up a city kid. And the guy I was with pulled alongside it, pulled the gator out of the water by his bare hands, grabbed it on the snout, and brought it into the boat and rang out a shot. And I, for a second there, wasn't sure if I was alive or dead because the flashlight fell into the river and everything went dark.
I know we got SC Wild coming up later. You remember Gene Abel, the late Gene Abel, that was the outdoors writer for a while at the state newspaper. When he was a younger man, his dad took him to the swamps, and they were boating in the swamp, and a water moccasin fell off a tree limb into the boat.
Into the boat, yeah.
And he took a shot and kind of went, bam!
It blew a hole in the boat.
And his dad said, well, you got him.
And you got us too.
You got us too. You got him. Well, anything to do with those no shoulders now. All right, let's see. We've got who was that again? Glenn. Yeah, let's get Glenn on. Glenn from North Charleston.
How you doing, guys?
Doing good, Glenn. How are you, sir?
Well, we're on weather alert down here. I don't know if whether to get a boat or not down here either.
You might need one.
Might need one for the way it's going.
Might need an ark.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the River Dogs will not play tonight. I'm pretty sure of that. So you got to worry about them. But
the question is College of Charleston going to get a baseball coach down there tonight?
I don't think so. That's going to take some doing. It's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Anything the government gets into, it's going to take like 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Well, how's the government in that?
Huh?
How's the government in the College of Charleston thing?
Well, you're talking about Glenn McConnell, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, he used to be in state government. College of Charleston is a state school. But
I was just joking with you guys. That's why I said that. You know.
Yeah. All right. Went right over my head.
All right. Now, Mizzou last year. I think they beat us pretty bad in the second half. But that quarterback would not give up. Is that quarterback the same one that's coming back this season too?
Yep, Drew Lock. I like Drew Lock. I think he's a pretty good player.
Well, Carolina beat them last year, though.
Yep.
It did?
Yes.
I thought they lost.
No, they beat them this year. It was in Columbia. They lost the year before in Missouri.
Yeah, that was the year I was thinking about.
Yeah, but they beat them last year.
Yeah, it was a 10-point game last year, 31-21. Had a pretty good year.
And they needed it too because their defense was a sieve at the beginning of the year. Then they went back to their old just sick 'em defense, and they played a little bit better.
Yeah. All right, big guy, appreciate it. I tell you, I think that's a very, very, very winnable game for South Carolina. That Missouri game on the road.
As I was saying before, you got a quarterback with a little bit of savvy. But the thing about it, even when Connor Shaw was sick in that game they stole in Missouri, because they just used that sick-em defense, you could draw and screen them to death. In fact, wasn't there one drive there where Shaw threw 3 or 4 consecutive screen passes and they yet to cover it?
Well, and also he did a lot of scrambling. When they'd get themselves out of position as well. But, I don't know. Of course, I was about to say something derogatory about Barry Odom, and that's not fair because it's just his second year. I'm not convinced on him, but and he's more of a defensive guy anyway. But I do think that is one of the road games that the Gamecocks can win. And of course, South Carolina's never been a great road team, but they've got Missouri, Texas A&M, Tennessee, and Georgia on the road. Could they possibly go 2-2 on those road games?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah.
Very possible.
If they could, I think you could have a pretty good year there. Of course, that NC State game just looms so big, Professor. If the Gamecocks are going to get to 7 wins, I think they have to beat NC State on September 2nd in that opener. And if they can do that, they can carry that over to a win at Missouri, a win at home against Kentucky, and a win at home against Louisiana Tech. And then you go to Texas A&M, that's winnable. And I think they got a good chance to beat Arkansas at home.
It depends on where Texas A&M is.
At that point.
If they stumble out of the gate, and it feels like the pallbearers are coming for the coaching staff,
right?
Then they got a chance to win. But the key point is they should have a tremendous running game. And to me, I still say football is in the trenches. And if you got a running game and a quarterback that can throw, makes that play action work better, they have a chance to win any football game if that defensive line shows some improvement.
You got to have a quarterback in this day and age.
Yes.
When you can block and maintain a block 10 yards downfield, you got to have a quarterback. All right, we'll be back.
stop now. More sports talk is on its way. Listen to the final word in sports all across the state with your host, Phil Kornblut.
I had the captain in the building, Captain Down. Looking forward to chat with him. The SC Wild a little bit later in this half hour. Can you imagine the professor, the captain in his younger days, out at the local scene, hitting on the young lady? And what's your name? Downer. What's your Downer? Well, but now at least you can say Captain Downer, right?
There you go.
Anyway, looking forward to that in a little bit. I told him I had the plates to go catch fish. Now I never get shut out when I go for fish. Yeah,
you go to the supermarket,
Publix or Walmart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I never get shut out.
Well, last time I went fishing, the fish won. They must have took every worm I had.
I went deep sea fishing one time. My ex-wife's family taught me to go in deep sea fishing. I was on a boat with about 120 people. I was the only person on that whole boat didn't catch anything. I couldn't catch it. I couldn't catch it. All I could do was get my hook hooked up with somebody else. They had to unhook my hook about 30 times. They finally I thought they were about to throw me off the boat. But no, I was not very good at that. All right, I'm Teddy Hafner, joined by the Professor Tom Hayes. We got 45 days until the start of the college.
Well, it's 44
football.
now.
Is it 44?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 45.
Oh, it was 45 this morning. Because see, I count today.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I got it 44. I got it right now. All right. 44 days until the start of the college football season. Gamecocks report on July 30th. They practice July 31st. Clemson's first practice August the 3rd. I asked one of the Clemson folks down there, says, well, when do y'all report? And he paused and he says, we've been here since June 26th. He says, he said, that's reporting isn't, that term really doesn't.
Well, when do you officially report?
Yeah. Well, I think what he was saying is when they report for summer school.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when they report. But anyway, their first practice is on August the 3rd. San Diego's first-round pick, wide receiver Mike Williams of Clemson, Lake Marion High School, likely will start training camp on the physically unable to perform list. I've been on that list a long time. He has a herniated disc in his lower back. Was looking at surgery a couple of weeks ago, but reports now say that that's off the table. No pun intended. Reports say that Williams is improving.
I wonder, did he get that injury in off-season workouts trying to get ready for the OTAs or something? You never know.
I think he got it carrying the money to the bank. The Davey O'Brien watch list is out. Top quarterbacks. Jake Bentley from South Carolina, Lamar Jackson, Louisville, Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma, J.T. Barrett, Ohio State, Jake Browning, Washington, Sam Darnold, Southern Cal, Jalen Hurts, Alabama, Josh Rosen, UCLA, Mason Rudolph, Oklahoma.
This is Baker Mayfield's 10th season, isn't it? It
he seems like he's been there a long
time.
Yeah, he seems like he's been around for a while. Okay, Cubs beat the Braves 8-2. Mike Montgomery allowed 2 hits and a run over 6 innings. Also hit a home run for the Cubs. Cubs have won 6 in a row. They're getting hot. Jordan Montgomery suffered a loss. The Twins beat the Yankees 6-1. Montgomery pitched 6 innings, and 5 of those innings he didn't give up any runs. The other one, they would give up 6. So he is now 6-5.
Yeah, the Braves inched toward that 500 mark. I think they made it. Then they run into either Washington or Houston, or in this case, the Cubs, and they get swept.
They have the Dodgers next, don't they? I think they have the Dodgers.
Yeah.
They do have the Dodgers next.
Yeah, they got the Dodgers next, and they'll probably have Kershaw and Wood back-to-back or something when they play the Dodgers. All right, so anyway, those are a couple of
well, Teddy, here's a recruiting note. I think.
Let's don't miss that.
Jarmart just passed by this, I guess, but it's actually from ESPN. Jeff Goodman saying that Southern Utah guard Randy Anwasuar is got his release, and I think he's somewhat of a grad student. And one of the teams after him, I guess, Frank Martin looking for one player for that last scholarship, and apparently he's on South Carolina's list, including the team that ousted South Carolina in the Final Four, Gonzaga, Oregon, and Texas Southern. So maybe another guard on the horizon for Frank Martin. Who knows?
Speaking of Frank Martin, CBS Sports had their 2017 SEC rankings out, and they picked South Carolina 10th. Final Four to 10th. I don't know. I just don't see that.
I kind of like that, because if I'm Frank Martin, I just make a print out of that and put it in every locker and say, hey, there you go, boys.
Well, the oldest motivational tactic in the world is nobody respects us.
There you go.
Kentucky, Florida, Texas A&M, Arkansas, Alabama, your top 5, then Vanderbilt, Missouri, Georgia, Auburn, South Carolina, and then Mississippi State, Mississippi, Tennessee, and LSU. All right, we've got Alshon Jeffrey coming up in a little bit. Alshon and Jared Rogers got together a little bit earlier today. I think Alshon was looking for some tips, some receiving tips, and Jared was able to help him out.
Yeah, I looked down on him just height-wise, so he had to.
You stand in a chair to talk to him.
Right. He had to look up to me, so I just wanted to let him know how to do the position right.
Alshon was an outstanding high school basketball player.
Yes, he was. Well, you can tell.
You
can tell he was a good rebounder about his hands
and the way he plays the position, the way he blocks out to get those catches. So anyway, he will. We'll get some of his comments coming out. Oh, we didn't mention the Panthers. They did make it official with Marty Herney. Hiring him on an interim basis, 10-plus years as the GM of the Panthers. They started 2012, I think it was, when they started 1-5. They let him go. But,
they fired
him back now.
And they brought him back after 5 years. That's the 5-year plan.
Mm-hmm. He owned a sports talk station there. Sure. Mm-hmm. Does he have to divest himself of that?
No, surely not.
Well, we know who'll get all the scoops. We'll know who'll get the scoops there on the Panthers. All right, 800-956-7266. Let's see. We got time to get Jerome. Oh, yeah, let's get Jerome. I haven't talked to Jerome in ages. And then Alshon Jeffrey coming up in a little bit. Two great athletes back to back, Jerome and Alshon Jeffrey. Jerome, how you doing?
Look, I'm not going to tolerate your sarcasm.
If you don't,
this is the first time I talked to you in a long time, and you're talking about my athleticism. I'm not going to stand for that.
It has been a while. It has been a while, Jerome. I'm just nice to. It's nice to know you're still with us.
I knew it was your voice, because hey, you know a Jets fan when you hear one.
Whoa! How does it sound?
Y'all gonna let them dominate the division again this year, or you gonna do something about it?
We're gonna let them dominate the division.
Oh, come on, man!
But the Jets are trying to tank so they can get one of those 3 quarterbacks for next year.
Man, look, why put off what you can do next year? Let's just try to do something this year, okay? I'm sick of the Patriots, man. I'm sick of them.
Well, everybody's sick of the Patriots except Patriot fans. But what are you going to do with Josh McCown or that cat from Penn State whose name I can't even think of?
And then look who you're sitting next to.
Who, the professor?
Uh-oh.
He's an Atlanta fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look who you're sitting next to.
Yeah, the Atlanta fan.
I had to sit and watch that stuff. I still haven't gotten over that, and I'm not even a Falcons fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was. I thought they had that ball game. Christian Hackenberg, the guy's trying to.
Hackenberg.
Yeah, he hit. The last workout, the OTAs, he hit 2 sports writers. Yeah, they asked him back. He said they were the only guys open.
There you go.
He nailed 2 sports writers with errant passes. Hey, Jerome, it's always good to hear from you, big guy.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be here for the rest of the week, so yeah, stay in touch. All right, Alshon Jeffrey. When we get back, and of course a little bit later, Captain Billy Downer will join us, SC Wild. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us right here on Sports Talk. Alshon Jeffrey was in the studio today with the Philadelphia Eagles now from St. Matthews. 27 years old.
In his prime.
Trying to
should have a big year in the NL East.
Trying to think if I can remember when I was 27 years old. Don't know if I could or not. But anyway, he talked with their Jared Rogers. Jared, he was promoting a football camp.
The first annual football camp. This is the first one that Alshon has put on, coming back to South Carolina, his own alma mater at Calhoun County High School Football Stadium. It's one of those, it's for all ages, all people, but heck, I'll just let him talk about it.
Man, I think it's important to give back to where you come from. Most of the timing is everything. So I feel like right now it's just the kids of the future. So you gotta, and everyone look up to you. Like everyone's been a kid before, someone that you look up to, and someone you want to be or you have goals to be like.
Now, how do you interact with these kids, specifically in being that role model for them? I mean, is there something that you want to introduce to these kids?
I mean, I think I just want to teach them more about life and just the experience of it's so much more about to the world, just being just about your neighborhood, but also just respect can take you a lot of places. Like you got to respect each and every person, and just schoolwork is most important. You can go as far as you want to be.
Now, this is a camp. It's not just for boys and football. This is for all ages and everyone, right?
So yeah, it's definitely for both.
Boys, girls, animals, dogs.
Yeah, definitely.
You're in town working out. Are you working out at USC? Are you around some of the players and the coaches there?
I've been working out at South Carolina.
Yeah.
I see some players there. Well, I haven't been working out with them, but I've seen the coaches and stuff like that.
You've got young wide receivers, Debo Samuel, Brian Edward, and Ortre Smith. You might not have interacted with them, but have you seen anything from tape or just watching them from afar that gets you excited for this upcoming year?
I think I went to the game last year, the first game against we played UMass. Mm-hmm. Jake was the first game he started. I watched Edwards. He made some pretty good catches. Debo's a tough receiver as well. But that was the first game I really watched live myself.
You're coming into your first season with the Philadelphia Eagles. Is there something that you're excited for? How did Doug Peterson sell you on the team this offseason?
I'm very excited about this offseason. I mean, I'm excited about what we got on defense, the pieces that we had together on offense. As far as a connection getting to Philly, my coach Grove, and I knew some people in the front office and stuff like that. So that's the ties to Philly. And I like what they had to offer.
Torrey Smith as the other starting wide receiver. This is also his first season with the Eagles. Have you connected with him to talk about how the two of you become leaders on the team, even though this is your first season together?
We just talk with each other. Like most of the time we talk about Ross and stuff like that. And just talk with Carson about things that we see and stuff like that. So, I mean, we piggyback off each other, things that he see and what he did. And then, because, I mean, he's won the Super Bowl. I haven't.
So is that something you've asked him, like, hey, man, how do we get to that Super Bowl level next year? Do you have a game plan with him for how to get there?
I think it's the process. We just got to work hard. I mean, plus with the playoff experience he got, then when we get to that moment, we can talk about it. Right now, we just trying to take it one step at a time.
Yeah. What's Carson Wentz like? What's your relationship with him? Have you built a rapport in how you work together on routes and what you're looking forward to accomplishing this season?
Carson is great. The sky's the limit for him. Just got to keep working. But on and off the field, he's a great dude. I mean, great leader. Everyone loves him. I mean, he's a cool dude. I mean, he's a great guy.
I mean, it's probably better to have a cool dude rather than a bad dude at quarterback. Do you have a preference for the type of quarterback you like to approach the game?
I mean, as long as we win in, that's all that matters. You take care of yourself, man. Because, I mean, things happen in the game, good or bad. That goes for anyone.
All right, and that kind of brings you back to the camp. Good things happen, bad things happen, and you're just here to be a role model for these kids. Is there any personal life lessons that you really look forward to telling these kids, don't get down when times are tough?
I just think that They just got to keep believing in themselves. That's the biggest thing. Just believe in yourself, because a million people gonna tell you this person say this about you, say that about you, good or bad. So one thing you gotta do is believe in yourself, no matter what. I don't never give up. Just believe in yourself, because anything's possible. Yeah.
Did you have to learn that growing up in South Carolina and believing in yourself? Were you faced with that adversity?
I think I just competitive nature in me, like just playing sports, because I feel that. Like, I always want to be the best at anything, so just got to keep working hard.
Yeah. Now, what's the first thing you look forward to doing with these kids at this camp?
I'm going to get out there and do a couple drills with them.
Get the 6-year-olds moving on the cones, right?
Definitely. I'm going to have a game plan ready for them.
All right. Well, that's the first annual youth football camp and back-to-school community fun day. That's Saturday, July 22nd, 2015. Camp registrations, 8 a.m. The rest of it is from 9 to 11:30. If you want tickets, if you want to register for this, go to alshonjeffrey.org to register for that and get signed up. That's at the Calhoun County High School Football Stadium. Again, alshonjeffrey.org to sign up for this. Thank you so much for coming in, Alshon.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care, guys.
Alshon, not the most talkative guy.
I thought he, I wanted to make sure that this wasn't a dentist's office. I thought he might have had it confused for a second, but he opened up once we started talking about football, and he realized I wasn't just asking him, dentist questions.
Mm-hmm. Alshon, you mentioned, or we mentioned basketball. 84-1 at St. Matthews. 84-1.
It was a basketball team.
As a basketball player.
That was Zam's team. Zam Frederick.
Won 4 state championships.
Exactly. Well, Alshon was, the interesting thing about Alshon is he pretty much breaks the mold of most NFL wide receivers. And I think Julio Jones is that type also, in that they don't say much. They let their play do their talking. Most wide receivers figured, look, I'm going to have to make some noise to be seen, because I want to get the ball thrown to me about 8 to 10 times a game at the most. So they say, give me the ball. They kept screaming, give me the ball. But Alshon's one of those guys that just lets his play do the talking. And I really thought Alshon got some knocks, because he did look like he just went through the motions on the field until you saw him play. And you say, this guy's a player. Every wide receiver doesn't have to look like somebody's, hitting him with a taser.
He made it easy.
Play.
He was just so smooth.
Exactly.
And he really knew how to use his body. With Carson Wentz, it is going to be interesting to see how the Eagles will do this coming season.
And of course, that I guess if anybody wants to, Alshon's about is I can recall that game against Alabama when I think Dre Kirkpatrick pulled his jersey, pulled his pads, and Alshon said, okay, and just caught the ball with one hand and kept going. Those are the guys I say that at the NFL level, you throw to them when they're open, and you throw to them when they're not open.
Yeah,
because they're going to make a play.
They'll make themselves
exactly
open. The sports line projected wins. These are a little low, I think, but they got Philadelphia at 8.1. 8.1. So that's
well. See, I'm thinking. I think
it might be a little better now.
Yeah, I'm thinking that the team that's in turmoil right now, that's going to play worse than they should, and I think Philadelphia's going to take advantage of that, is the Washington Redskins. They can't get their quarterback situation straight. Kirk Cousins won't sign the long-term deal. And, it might be tough in Washington this year.
Well, hopefully it'll be tough in Dallas, too.
Well, I mean, Dallas Dallas has some studs, and I thought they lucked out.
Great offensive line.
Oh,
great
exactly.
offensive line. And, absolutely fantastic offensive line. Yeah, we're, like 2 weeks away, I believe, from the NFL team starting to report for their training camps as well. All right, Jared, appreciate that. Some conversation with former Gamecock All-American and current Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver, Alshon Jeffrey. All right, Captain Billy Downer will join us when we come back. South Carolina Wild. We'll talk some boating. We'll talk some bears. We'll have some fun talking about the great outdoors.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
All right, Teddy Hefner back with you, joined by Captain Billy Downer for SC Wild. Kind of looking forward to this. We're just kind of getting to know each other during the break there. I do live up on the lake.
Lake Murray.
Captain,
yes.
Lake Murray. And had a boat for a long time until I had the boat winterized, but evidently they didn't do a very good job because they left some water in it and it cracked on me. and haven't been able to replace the boat. Now the boat was older. I'm
sure.
It was not one of those $25,000 boats. It was like a $5,000 boat. But used to love to get out.
25,000 doesn't even hit it anymore.
Yeah, right.
Now they're at 125,000.
But it was just a bow ride, 21-footer.
Sure.
Rider. Used to love to get out on the lake and just boat around. I'm not a fisherman, but I used to just.
Well, speaking of the lake, let's talk about July 4th. We wrapped up July 4th. Missed the show that July 4th week. I apologize to the listeners who were out on the water, but we made it through another July 4th weekend. Unfortunately, we had another drowning over the 4th. Last weekend, we had yet another fatality, boating accident fatality, bringing us to 7 for the year. Of course, like I always say, 1 is too many. So just brings up some thoughts. In the old days, July 4th, my sergeant used to say it's time to winterize the boats because pretty much everybody didn't go back out in the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true today. Everybody stays on the water all the way through Labor Day, and on the coast, they stay on the water almost all year because when it's milder temperatures, people are on the water on the coast. But certainly our boating summer is not over yet. I'm sure if you live on the lake, you can attest to that.
Absolutely.
People are all over the place.
The fatality, the boating fatality, was that an accident at night? Or
that was not at night that I know I'm aware of. But the thing that brings up in mind to me is to remind folks, boating season is in full swing.
Mm-hmm.
Couple things to be thinking about, to keep in mind, steps to take to prevent a boating accident. Number one, keep a sharp lookout. We talk about it on the show. We've done a couple shows talking about that, but it certainly is worth the time to say it again. Keep a sharp lookout. If you're driving the boat, be looking for obstacles, be looking for other boaters. As I say, be looking for someone pulling a skier near you or someone to drop off of that tube or ski, because when they fall in the water, it's a lot of times, if it's choppy, it's hard to see that person. But be aware of what's around you, not just the boats, but also the skiers. So if they fall off, you can see them. Second thing, maintain a safe speed and distance. This has come up in recent years. A lot of people want speed limits on the lake. That would be really hard to enforce, but we already have areas where there's constriction in the lakes where we tell people to go to no wake. If you're within 50 foot of a dock, you have to be at no wake by law. If you're in a no wake zone, or some of our more narrow passages have wake zones, certainly you have to be at no wake, which means idle speed. But again, maintain safe speed and distance, and this includes at night. People want to get out in the water at night and run wide open, and that's perfectly fine if you know where you're going and you know where your surroundings are. But at night, a lot of times, most people need to slow down so they can see what's going on around them. And be prepared so you can keep a sharp lookout. And always have enough life jackets on your boat. Make sure they fit everybody that's on the boat. Make sure you've got the right type for everybody on board, because you never know when you might need it. And then the last thing I always tell, don't forget, tell someone where you're going. Sounds silly today with phones and GPSs, but let somebody know where you're going, because if all else fails, at least somebody knows that you've gone and when you plan to return. So if you don't come by that time, they know to start looking for you.
Like, for example, I told Captain Billy Downer that I was going to go fishing on Lake Murray this weekend already. Just tell them to watch out, because we're going to be on canoes.
You said you were going in a canoe striper fishing. That is cause for concern. If you're in a canoe with two people fishing on the lake, you want to go to the deep water, you said.
I'd like to keep to the shore, but I've got a daredevil roommate that is just asking to be a poster child for you in the DNR on not boat safety on the middle of the lake.
Yeah, stay on the shoreline.
Like I said, wear a life jacket, please.
Now, you mentioned the life jackets.
Sure.
Kids 12 and under, is that the right age, must have a life jacket?
If you're on a boat less than 16 foot in length, that's a good point. Less than 16, under 12 have to have a life jacket on all times. And the reason for that is, on a boat less than 16 foot in length, certainly it's not going to be as stable as a 24-foot pontoon. Okay. So it's small children need to be in a life jacket at all times. Now, people call the office all the time, ask that question. They go, I know that my 6-year-old needs to have a life jacket on when they're on my boat, but how about 10-year-old, whatever? Well, actually, the law, it's under 16 under age 12. You have to have a life jacket on. If you're
Okay.
only in a boat under 16 feet in length. However, we always encourage folks, if you've got children in a boat, especially toddlers, always have them in a life jacket, no matter what size of the boat, because I've had children, my children would run around, and it doesn't take a second for them to run off the side of the boat and in the water. So,
well, what I realized, Captain, was that if one of my kids went flying in the water, I'm going right behind them.
Right.
I'm going after them. And what would happen is I would drown because
Yeah.
I don't swim that well.
Right.
So I started putting a life jacket on.
Yep.
And, people might look at you like, you're 50 years old, 60 years old, you got a life jacket on. What's wrong with you? But
hey,
I know if something happened to one of my kids, I'm the first one's going to be in the water.
well, and you're safe and you're there. You're
Mhm.
able to affect a life-saving event if you had to get in the water instead of it becoming
Right.
flipped on you now. But again, life jackets, we've talked about that. There's so many different life jacket styles that they're comfortable to wear. Although the inflatables and self-inflatables out there that you can wear them and not get bulky and be in your way. But make sure, again, we want to make sure everybody has an enjoyable boating experience on all of our lakes and waterways, and they're able to go back out again.
Is there a minimum age to let someone drive the boat?
If there's an adult on board, there is no minimum age as long as an adult's on board the boat. That sounds a little bit scary to say that, but that's what the law is. If you are under the age of 16 and you're operating a boat of 15 horsepower or greater, certainly a jet ski, PWC, Kawasaki, all the ones that are out there, Polaris, your different ones that are out there, they have to have boating safety, a boating safety course. They have to have passed it and have proof of that on board with them if they're operating a boat again over 15 horsepower and they're under age 16. Once they turn 16, there is no requirement for boater education in our state for now. A lot of groups have been pushing for that. Our department certainly, when we did our listening sessions a year ago, we heard that at everyone. People wanted more education. They wanted folks to be so they could be safer on the water. And we certainly support education for all, as many as we can, so that folks can get more knowledge about how to be safe on the water.
And Captain, it's illegal to have an open container in an automobile. What is the law with alcohol, beer, etc.
Not
on a
illegal
boat?
on a boat.
Okay.
A boat, there is no open container on a boat. Open container applies to a vehicle on the road, like you stated. Now, we do have boating under the influence. So a driver driving on the lake in a boat could have a beer in his hand. There's nothing against the law on that. But we encourage people, if you're going to operate a boat, or if you don't drink. If you're going to drink, do it. And just like driving, have a designated driver, somebody that's not drinking, so you know that they're good to go driving that boat. But our law on boating under the influence, 0.08 is that number. That's the number we go to, again. But the real fact is, are you under the influence? Are you impaired when you're driving? That's the key in boating. Don't get focused on the number. But if two beers or one beer impairs you, then don't drive. Let somebody else begin. Remember, keeping a safe lookout, a proper lookout, maintaining safe speed and distance. All those things require you to have all of your skills and reactionary skills, and drinking diminishes that. We know that. Alcohol diminishes your ability to react to a situation. So make sure you're not impaired when you drive.
Well, the accident on the lake recently, one of the ones involved was a friend of mine, and he evidently did nothing wrong, but someone was killed, and that's going to haunt him the rest of his life.
Anytime there's a fatality, no matter who's at fault, it's a bad situation. No doubt about it.
Any questions for the captain? 1-800-956-7266. South Carolina Wild. We'll talk some bears too.
Yeah, we're going to talk bears a little bit. Fishing report. Let's hit fishing for a minute.
All right, we'll get to that.
It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Hi, Teddy Hefner sitting in for Phil with Captain Billy Downer, and you wanted to go on over a fishing report. Jared going fishing.
Yeah.
He's not going to catch anything, but he's going fishing.
Well, that's all right. We're going to do a saltwater report too. Catch back up.
Okay.
You know, I can give you my own account, Beaufort area. I can tell you that black drum and red drum are biting strong on the rising tide in creeks if you can find the deep holes. Drum like to get in those holes and sit. As in any saltwater environment, the fish seem to come in by species. It's always fun. First the black drum, then the red drum move in, and you start catching red drum. And then after that, you might catch sheephead and other fish as well. And trout mixed in there as well also. Flounder were prevalent in the shallows for gigging at night. Again, timing that, you got to wait for the tide to be going out. Low tide is typically the time that you go flounder gigging. Don't forget, folks, flounder limits have changed as of July 1st. Flounder limit, the minimum length now is 15 inches. It changed from 14 to 15. And the limit per person is 10 or 20 per boat. So 10 per person, 20 per boat. 10 per person is plenty for me, and 20 per boat is plenty for me. But there are those that love flounder gigging. So just be aware there has been a change in the law. Now
I'd be terrified of gigging my foot.
Well, I mean, you've got to have some, again, it takes a little athletic prowess on the front of the boat. Hold the gig carefully. You don't keep the gig on your feet. You keep it out there in the boat, in the water. You usually take the gig and you kind of move along with the gig like a push pole. Then when you see a flounder, you gig, or a fish, you're going to gig. Now, we did do something. I will say this. We saw a fish I'd never seen before in the salt water, a triple tail. For those of you from the coast, you may know what a triple tail is. For us land guys and blackwater people, we are used to calling things like look like a lot like a flyer in the swamp. Long dorsal fin like a flyer or a brim, type of brim you find in black water. Never seen one before. Checked and we saw that there was no limit on it, so we gigged one. And now I find out it's one of the best eating fish in inshore fishing. So we actually gigged 2 that night. So interestingly enough.
And what's the verdict? Did you eat it?
We have not eaten it yet. Triple tail, though. Called a triple tail. I think because it's got a top fin, bottom fin, and, your tail fin. So 3 triple tail. Never seen one before until now. But let's go to quote K-Mac, a very interesting problem. Biologists with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources are reporting increased black bear activity throughout the state, and the DNR put out a press release today, July 19th, in regards to this. Biologists in the upstate are urging people who live in areas of bear activity to go ahead and remove their bird feeders. Yes, you heard it, bird feeders. Black bear breeding season has bears on the move, and with a smaller than anticipated blackberry crop this year, bears are hungry and looking for an easy meal. Bird feeders in people's yards are among the favorite targets of black bears. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I did not know that bears will eat of a bird feeder. So our biologists state in Clemson are saying, if a bear's been reported in your area, go ahead and take your feeder down and leave it down. Don't wait until a bear's knocked your feeder down to remove it. If a feeder is taken down and left down, the bear will move on. Dealing with bears in the upstate, as across the state, is a neighborhood problem, meaning that neighbors need to work together. If a neighborhood hears of a bear in the area, everyone should take their feeders down and leave them down. If every single person with a bird feeder in the neighborhood doesn't take the feeder down, then the black bear will find a reason to stay in the area. The mere presence of a black bear does not necessarily represent a problem. Now, that depends on who you're asking, but most bears are just passing through. But if there's an easy meal to be found, they will take advantage of it. Again, wild animals are looking for the easiest source of food. Removing food sources that can attract bears will greatly reduce bear issues in residential areas. SCDNR offers these common sense suggestions to better cope with bears. Bird feed and feeders. Take them down. There's one. Number 2, no garbage. Keep garbage in tightly shut or bear-proof trash cans. Garbage left in the open in an open dumpster in the back of a truck is an open invitation for a bear. Pet food storage. Store pet food properly if kept outside. Put it up at night in airtight storage. Like me, if you put it in a trash can, if you're in the upstate, that may cause a problem for a bear who would like to try to get in there to eat the food because they do have a tremendous sense of smell. Clean grills. Never thought about this. Keep charcoal and gas grills covered and clean to keep food odors from attracting bears. And here it is. I know you're ready for it, Jared. Beehives.
Beehives.
If you're going to have beehives in bear territory, protect your investment with an electric bear-proof fence.
Not a gun. A fence.
That's right. We don't want you to go shooting bears. Again, no feeding. A bear that becomes accustomed to having food provided is an accident waiting to happen. Don't feed a bear the first time, and it will likely leave the area soon. While people may be excited about seeing a bear, biologists urge them to remember that bears are wild animals and should be respected. Black bears are usually shy, evasive, and non-aggressive toward people. In fact, most of the time, they are much like a white-tailed deer. When they see a human, they run off. Neither a human fatality nor even an attack has ever been attributed to a black bear in South Carolina. That's important to remember. There's never been a bear attack in our state. But feeding animals removes that natural fear of man, and that, again, is the perfect recipe for a problem. So try to remove food sources.
That's like the idiots on some of the golf courses in the low country feeding the gators.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's just stupid.
Everybody loves to see a big gator and take a photograph of it or take a video of it. And then people start liking to feed them. And that, again, as I've told Phil many times, alligators have a brain the size of a walnut. It tells them to
kind of like Phil.
Tells them to eat and reproduce. Kind of like, I hope that's not like Phil. Eat, reproduce. That's it. They don't have much of a brain.
That's
so
Phil.
You don't want to give them much of a reason to have to decide between eating and reproducing. It's not a good decision process. So don't feed gators. Don't feed bears. For more information about black bears, though, if you want to look more at what DNR suggests, you can go to our DNR website, dnr.sc.gov, and look for the Homeowner's Guide, Living with Bears. So there is a very interesting information.
I would have never known that bears would eat bird seed.
I did not know that either.
Interested in that.
But apparently that's a large problem in the upstate because the Clemson office is receiving call after call. And again, knowing that this is the season that bears moving around, I know that we talked about that last month. Union counties in the upstate had individual call in that had some beehives. Certainly he has an investment there, and we understand that. But you can't just go shooting at the bear. You've got to do everything you can to keep them out of the hives. An electric fence is a good option. And if once he can't get to it, he's going to move on to other areas. But interesting also, they said that the blackberry harvest was not very good this year, or blackberries did not produce as well this year. And that's causing a problem. So that's interesting as well. But human-wildlife interaction will always be a challenge for our department and wildlife departments across the United States because wildlife don't know borders.
Wonder why the blackberries are down.
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I imagine it's just like the blueberries. We had that freeze going in March, and that probably affected
that
the
probably
plants
is
here.
right because my blueberries got nailed and didn't make a blueberry this year because of the freeze. But we had that freeze come in late when the plants and your berries start making the fruit, and it got nailed and it cut it back.
But I think the most important thing to realize here is there's been no bear attacks. I find that surprising. But also, since there has been no bear attacks or fatalities, you don't want to be that first one because you go in history. You are in the history books.
Remember,
so take down those bird feeders.
Black bears, not grizzly bears. People look at bears just like alligators and start thinking crocodile. It's not a grizzly bear. Black bears, again, most often associated with a deer. They're going to run off like a deer. Remember this, though, on the way out. Let's don't forget, folks, remember this on the way out today. New deer regulations are on the horizon here. Deer season just around the corner in just about 2-3 weeks. For some areas, all deer must be tagged this year. For more information on new deer tag regulations and how to get your tags, visit the DNR website at dnr.sc.gov. We'll be talking more about deer tags come the August show.
Hopefully I'll be here then. I enjoyed it, Cap.
It's been a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
Remember picking blackberries, and my grandmother made me show my tongue, to see how many I'd eeten while I was.
But you didn't see any bears, did you?
Didn't see any bears.
Oh, we're lucky.
Didn't see any bears.
We're good.
All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back with you tomorrow on Sports Talk here on the South Carolina News Network. Have a great day, everybody, or a great night, everybody.